about it someday, people.
Read all about
No.
it. Read all about it. Mike Gibbons cannot figure out how to use a computer. Top story this week, the royal family not in the news. And we're not talking about Woody Allen. Read all about it.
That last episode was disturbing. Okay, let's move forward.
Okay, let's move on. Let's not defend a child molester anymore.
Allegedly defending, I mean. All right.
So
What?
listen,
All right,
Mike,
we're doing it? Oh, yeah.
how you feeling?
I'm good, man. You thought I wasn't feeling that good when you saw me. I didn't do stand-up, but I
Yeah,
came
we did
by
the
to
St. Patrick's Day show at the golf course on
swung
Wednesday
by
night.
to say hi.
Yep.
You thought maybe I got hit by that vaccine because I had my second one, and your pussy wife got hit really hard by that.
And my
but
pussy son.
They are both pussies, and
Yep.
but I'm like bull, and so it didn't affect me at all.
So why didn't you perform on Wednesday night? Speaking of pussies.
Well, kind of like you, I just didn't think I had my best stuff, and I
Hey
didn't
now.
I didn't want to go up. No, I don't know. I think it's I don't like the Irish. So let's do it another day. Let's do it another holiday.
The show was, just to set it up,
Impressive.
it was a typical Fitzsimmons production where a week before I said, let's have a comedy show. We hadn't even asked the club if we could do it. We promoted it the day of with a couple of tweets.
It was packed.
And somehow it got packed. Like, everybody showed up. I think some listeners were there. There was one girl there who was a little stalkery, a listener. She was very
Really?
sweet, but she came alone.
Huh.
Yeah, and then, of course, some good friends. And then my wife showed up with my daughter.
Another stalker. Yeah, that was uncomfortable. Maybe for everyone.
It wasn't at all. She had never seen me do stand-up before.
But the audience doesn't know how cool JoJo is and how she rolls with it. But you're talking about slamming her mom.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I talked about how it's gonna be uncomfortable. My daughter's here, and half my jokes are about fucking her mother. But then
Yeah.
I didn't do any jokes about fucking her mother.
Wait, you got pretty risque. What? I mean, I remember like a bunch of people were like, "Ooh."
Well, that's what I do. I mean, that's my act. That's what I'm
Dickie,
shooting for.
Yeah, Dickie and I were there, and we would just turn around, like a lot of people, and look at your daughter when the zingers flew.
She loves that shit. You can't shock JoJo. She is so dark.
Yeah.
She loves it, and she loved the show. I had a good set.
You had a great set.
Thank you.
Yeah.
She hugged me. She said she was proud of me. It was a very big moment. It was very touching.
Clearly, she's doing tons of drugs. I'd be worried. I wouldn't have gone as far with the praise as she did.
We did give her a couple pints of beer while she was there, just to warm her up a little bit.
Hoping she'll forget the set. Hey, here, sweetie, blackout, please.
No, the last joke I did, and sometimes as a comedian, you're not thinking that much about which jokes you're doing and who's there. And I'm halfway through the joke about me and Owen being at the beach, and a 17-year-old girl in a bikini comes running in the water.
Of course.
And I'm like, why am I telling this joke right now?
Oh, I know.
Yeah. That was the only uncomfortable moment.
Yeah. And of course, a little later, I'm like, is he still going to call it a fat tit? And bing, bet, you fuck, to your artistic credit, no filter. That's exactly what you called it.
That's it. What'd you think of Dennis Gibbons hosting?
Great, as always. The guy is he's like an energy powder that gives out codes to get the vaccine ahead of minorities. But he's like this energy powder. Add to anything, and it just gets energized and better and more fun. He walks in any room. It's like you're sprinkling Dennis on things.
No, Dennis is the kind of guy, if you get married and you barely know Dennis, you invite him to the wedding because he'll be the first guy on the dance floor. And he'll dance with the old ladies. He'll take your grandmother out for a spin.
Well, he told the embarrassing thing so he's a great dancer, and so he'll be out there. So then this little line forms, and he's like, these really attractive women. And so they come up to me, and meanwhile, he's like sweated through his shirt like only Dennis can, and both sides. And the women then are there like, and he's like, oh my God, this is so great. Because, he goes to these weddings solo, and cutest girl is like, hi, he's like, you're such an amazing dancer. I'm embarrassed to ask, will you dance with my mom? And I have to give Dennis credit. That's just a true story. That's not a joke I'm making. That really happens to him constantly. Okay, so
did they ask him to finger the mom as well, or does he just throw that in as a bonus?
He hopes the daughters never learn about that.
Yeah.
But so we went to a wedding out in Palm Springs, a mutual friend, and he is dancing and he's becoming the star, and it's this big room where they're having the reception. And anyway, he jumps up on this chair. Anyway, we're pretty wasted at this point. So I go, Dennis, I have an idea. You want to do multiple chairs? He's like, yeah. So I set up chairs that leave from the 8 top tables. I set up chairs that leave the dance floor, go around the periphery, go to halfway down the middle of the room in the back, and then straight towards the dance floor. I'd say 10 feet apart, the chairs, and then finish on the dance floor. He runs, does the jump up on a chair with his foot, on the back of the chair, and he skillfully, the chair goes down to the floor. He goes up on the next one, and it was watching a performance art piece. He goes around the whole room, the whole place going crazy, and the last chair springs him onto the dance floor. It was incredible.
It's like Jerk du Soleil.
Wow. All right. Yeah, it was kind of like that.
Hey, don't fucking judge my puns. I'm going to throw them in once in a while. There's a certain contingent of the listenership that appreciates a good pun. I played golf with Dennis yesterday, and he's the most mellow, fun guy in some ways, and he is a raving, fucking angry lunatic in others. We get on the course, and first of all, I don't give him. He wants these gimme in golf. There's a thing called a gimme putt, which means if it's very close to the hole, you say to the guy,
right,
"That's good," and you don't have to putt it.
Yeah.
There will be a 4-foot putt, and Gibbons will go, "Is this good?" And I'll say no, and then he'll call me a douchebag. He'll fucking curse. He'll hold a grudge for 2 holes. It's so fucking annoying. And then we get this group behind us that starts hurrying us. The guy goes like this with his hand, like rotates his hand and looks at us like, hurry up.
Yeah.
And so I go, hey, we're waiting on the group in front of us. And the guy starts yelling at us. And then me and Dennis, it escalated. We're fucking screaming at this guy.
Wow. Fun golf.
And he's screaming at us. And I go, say one more thing and I'll hit this fucking ball in your teeth. Like it got bad.
Holy.
Yeah. And then Dennis gets up to the tee, and the guy's standing right there. And Dennis goes, "Here we go, hey!" And he hits his drive about 300 fucking yards. And we just all started laughing.
You got to get him chairs out there. That turns his mood around immediately.
Right.
You just got to get chairs for Cirque du Solo. Oh, how about that? That's a little wordplay, a little more advanced, I think.
Next hole, he hits a bad tee shot, and he throws his fucking club halfway down the. Yeah.
Anyway, Dennis is a keeper. Great ladies. You want a code for a vaccine. You want him to dance and be a. It's almost like those criers at a funeral. You're right. He could be paid.
Yeah.
To energize
be a wedding crasher.
Any event.
Yeah. What else? We got a big podcast coming up this week. We're going to do our first guesting on somebody else's podcast this week.
Yeah. I think that's still on, right? I mean, we haven't heard differently.
Bert Kreischer.
Bert, who's a friend of mine. I did a project with him. Nicest guy ever. Adores you, Greg. Is a very respectful kind of student of the game. He's one of those guys.
Yeah, he is. He's a guy everybody has respect for, and
fucking works hard, man.
He's got just enough self-hatred to keep him interesting.
What? Oh yeah, for sure. And his stories, because he's like a dentist. Like it's just, and that's how he got famous. His story of going over to Russia,
right,
and getting his name, The Machine. So we're doing. I think he has a new podcast studio that's been built.
Oh, really?
Which I think we're going there. By the way, are you under that impression?
Yeah, I'll go.
We'll check. I don't know when it airs, but we're supposed to record it Monday.
Shout out to James Enriquez for this week's song. James
Nice.
is, working it out.
What does that mean?
It feels like he's capable of violent crimes when I listen to that song.
Because the intentionally lo-fi approach? I'm with you, James. Don't listen. There are haters out there. I work with one, apparently.
I love
thank you
the
for
song.
the song. Oh, here
I
comes
love
the
it.
backpedal.
It's compelling. It's a little disturbing.
Okay.
It's like when
you
listen to, like if you listen to Chris Cornell, you go, I see how this ends.
Is that that's what you get out of Chris Cornell?
Yeah.
Wow. I just, that voice, holy moles.
By the way, there's a concert. If you want to go, we got a couple other friends that are getting tickets. Mikey Fitzgibbons and some other people are getting tickets. Dana Point in September. It's a 3-day festival. The Sunday night show is My Morning Jacket, The Pretenders, and
What?
Pearl Jam. Yeah, outdoor
Wow.
show. You camp out the night before. Take some fucking edibles.
Oh, that's in the brochure also?
Yep.
What are the other nights like? Is Tom York or something playing?
I know Eddie Vedder's headlining the night before as solo.
Blake Mills, some locals?
Who's Blake Mills?
See, perfect.
Mm.
I'll send you his album. I thought I did. Fucking dude's awesome.
Also, let's give Mikey Fitzgibbons has a new album out,
Yes.
and there's
Nicest guy going.
yeah, he's great, and we want to promote the album. As you know, I'm not a country music fan, but what they do is more of a rockabilly kind of thing. Him and his boy Johnny Marfa, and if you go to Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, the album's called The Name's Johnny Marfa. It's really fucking fun. They're just like they're a groovy LA band. Check them out.
Groovy. First time rockabilly and groovy have been in the same sentence. Or is that your old man way of saying like it's hip? Is that groovy? Groovy.
What's the hip word for hip now?
Let's see. Dope is about 6 years old.
I think lit.
Fire, and lit. Then lit led to the creatively bankrupt fire, which is a different way of saying it.
Or you snap your fingers.
Is that all you do now?
Yeah, you just snap your fingers.
All right, I like that. Okay.
I did a show. I've done 3 shows in 3 nights because I'm getting ready to go to Raleigh, North Carolina this weekend. By the way, folks, if you're in Raleigh or that general area,
Shit, when do you leave?
Thursday.
Wow.
Yeah, so we'll be doing it from remotely on Sunday next week.
Oh yeah, I'm so used to not looking forward for a year in the pandemic
Yeah.
because the assumption is I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to Florida Friday.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
Are you
My
gonna have
sis-
time on Saturday to bang one out?
I think if you're meaning the podcast, I think so.
Well, I hope so because you just said you're hanging out with your sister.
Right. I didn't know if it was just, myself.
Mm.
And I assumed you were talking about finger banging. I Saturday morning, yeah, I think so. I think we can do
We'll do a
it
tight one.
right on the heels of finger banging. Yeah. So, but my sister and I finally, I think a lot of our listeners can relate. We haven't seen our father in a year, more than a year, and he's gone through a lot. And so we're finally,
He lost his wife.
yeah. And like everybody has, kind of been isolated through this whole thing. So anyway, we're going to go, sadly, we have to sort of clean out the apartment down there where they live. But,
Wow.
we want to help them. So we're going down. But yeah, flying to Florida should be interesting.
Is he getting rid of that place down there?
No,
Okay.
no. Just getting rid of anything that would make him think about sadness.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that what you
gotta
do? Isn't that
yeah,
the
that's what
drill?
you got to do. My father
No.
died. The only thing I inherited was his golf clubs and a red
And-
handkerchief.
And it haunts you to this day, I can tell.
Doesn't help. Doesn't
Yeah.
help. Doesn't help to be playing with 42-year-old golf clubs.
Well, it's why you're out there screaming at poor people on the golf course. That's how that worked. Keeping your dad's journey alive.
He's looking down going, why'd you back off, pussy?
Hey, if you're not going to hit you said you're going to hit him in the teeth. If I don't see it, you're still a disappointment.
Also, I'll be going to...
That's what you hear in your backswing.
The grips are all fucking torn apart from just holding on too tight from anger.
Yeah.
I'll also be coming to Philly. I'm going to Helium on April 22nd through the 24th. And then my Kansas City date just got changed. It's now earlier. If you're coming to see me in Kansas City, it's now May 20th through the 22nd. I'm sorry. It's going to be April 29th through May 1st. So get tickets at fitzdog.com.
Look at you. KC couldn't wait for the Fitzdog.
KC's a good town. Good steaks. And what else? What else you got in Kansas City?
Aren't there 2 Kansas cities?
Yeah, there's Missouri and there's Kansas.
You say it like it makes sense.
I know. Well, there's also Minneapolis-St. Paul is kind of like that. It's like 2 cities separated by like a 2-minute stretch of no city.
All right, Christopher Denman's going to chime in, hopefully, to my question. I was in a Kansas City. I went there for this Negro League baseball.
Oh, geez. It's African-American.
I think technically it's still called that, so I'm going to hide behind that. With double duty, Radcliffe and all this, I worked for HBO, and I was doing a documentary on them. Anyway, I was in either a Ritz-Carlton or a Four Seasons that was on a hill, and I believe I'm talking about the Kansas City in Missouri.
Probably.
Denman, if you could get off your fundraising kick for Trump right now, yep, absolutely Missouri. He knows where I'm talking about. And
the good stuff's in Missouri. I think Kansas is the kind of like down and dirty part of Kansas City.
And what's that famous music intersection? Like there's a famous intersection right not far from that. And I think they put the Negro League, there I go again, Hall of Fame there, I believe.
Wow.
And that's why I was there. Yeah.
Is that the Crossroads where Robert
Satchel
Johnson
Paige,
sounded soul
Satchel,
to
of
the devil?
course. Woody named his son after Satchel Paige, the one that turned on him and turned on the name and called himself Pharaoh. Anywho.
Not going there, Mike.
We're not going there. I like the name Satchel. I thought that was super cool. It's kind of like a Hollywood and Vine. It reminds me of that. It's a famous intersection in Kansas City. We'll get it in a minute.
We also want to give a shout out to David Hughes, who did a very cool logo this week.
You're not going to shit on him?
I feel bad now. James, I'm not shitting on you. I just thought it was a mood. It was a mood piece that had to be addressed. Seek counseling.
I'm looking up this city. It's bothering me.
A couple corrections. Michael Solomon said Mike was incorrectly saying there was a McCracken in Slapshot. Wrong, Mboyo. Ernie McCracken is Bill Murray's character in Kingpin. And then he goes on.
He can go F himself, because as I texted you, McCracken is a villain in Slapshot.
You're correct.
18th and Vine. Yeah, that's what Denman just wrote. I remember it being something else, but I guess that is the historic district. Yeah, and that's why I guess I thought of Vine.
Also, Lawrence Tarpey chirped in that FYI, it's Hal Linden as Barney Miller, not Hal Holbrook. And Billy Jack, not
Hold on.
Charles.
Can I write a correction to that correction?
Yeah.
I think that's for another podcast of yours, because I've never heard about that bullshit.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. But I loved Barney Miller, and I think I was precocious comedically, because that was dry humor, man.
Yeah. Super dry humor.
Loved it.
And it was they really captured New York. It's like so many procedural cop shows are sort of like, I don't know if a cop, I've been in police stations. They're much more gray and dreary than these. Barney Miller was fucking gritty.
Took place in one room.
Yeah,
talk about that writing challenge.
Yeah, I know.
Story, B story, runner.
Yeah. Remember when Wojciechowicz ate the pot brownie?
I don't.
That was a great episode.
That's ahead of its time.
Yeah. Also, all right, let's get to it. You want to do the front page?
Extra! Extra! Read all about it!
guess we could start a podcast. All right. Are we doing this story?
Let's do it. Let's tread lightly on it.
Well, obviously, we're not going to make jokes. So, what?
Then what's this podcast?
Well, why change course now?
Yeah.
Well, the Asian story in Atlanta is terrible. I thought, yeah, so we do a comedy podcast. Anyway, this isn't a joke. Anyway, the headline was Asian Americans organize in wake of Atlanta attacks. And I wrote, am I allowed to say that I bet it will be very organized?
You could say that.
I think that's a fair question.
Yeah, it's going to be well thought out.
It's going to be detail-oriented and incredibly well executed.
Yes.
I'm not making light of the situation. I am tipping my cap. They are generally, stereotypically organized and detail-oriented.
As the Black Lives Matter marches were often late. They often started after the...
All right. How do you end a Zoom? Is it the red button still? I know I'm lumping in lots of different nationalities under the word Asian. Okay, I'm aware of that. Still, I still think I'm accurate here.
This story really bummed me out because if you live in LA,
awful.
there's massage places and they're mostly legit. You go in and for like $40, you get sometimes these Thai women that are unbelievably trained and they're fucking great and they're just, they came over here indentured sometimes. They're paying off a loan that they paid to get here and they're noble, hardworking people and just the idea of somebody going in and fucking killing. And he said he did it because he was a sex addict and he wanted to stop the potential of him having a sex addiction. He's like, hey, I'm addicted to alcohol. I don't fucking shoot bartenders. Like, shoot yourself if you're that out of control.
How about shoot your dick off?
Right.
You coward.
I really think that there should be self-castration procedures. If you're a child molester, I don't want to fucking hear it. Just go and get fucking snipped or take pills that lower your libido, whatever it takes. Let the fucking medical industry get involved.
Still, you'd trust that person with your kid?
What?
You would trust that person, like, to be a neighbor or whatever? Like, oh, don't worry, I've reduced my sex drive, so I don't think about little children as much anymore.
No,
okay, cool.
I wouldn't trust him, but at least he could trust himself a little bit more.
What do you do? Like, I don't know. You're released on So I watched that documentary, Outcry. We talked about it a little bit last week. So the documentary Outcry is about this really precocious kid who outcry. Do you know that the word outcry?
No.
The technical. So that's technically when a child, maybe anybody, that is the word used for their complaint, for their I've been abused.
Okay.
And so anyway, where was I going with this? Oh, so one of the uncles who pleaded guilty, so he went to jail 17 years, child sex abuse. And so he gets out and I'm like, what's that? And I'm not feeling sorry for him. Don't get me wrong, but I am a little like stumped. Like, what do you do? Like, who would, I guess they have halfway houses maybe. If your family doesn't take you in,
yeah.
Like if your family doesn't take you in, which I imagine most won't, what's step one? You have a shoebox full of your shit, the prison door's behind you. Honestly, like what society wants nothing to do with you.
Wherever you move to, you got to knock on the doors of everybody in the neighborhood and tell them that you're a sex offender. You're not going to be able to get a job.
Yeah. I think I'm going to slaughter it. The greatest. It was a really funny Mr. Show sketch where he gets out. He's like, and he's trying to do it. He's like, and he's cold calling for insurance. He's like, hello, I'm Larry, whatever. He's like, insurance is my game. Sex offending was another one of my games. But like, and when he leaves his house, it's like, sex offender. Oh, wait, we could talk about this for a second. Comedy fans would be interested in this. From Mr. Show, the guy I just described holding up the sign screaming, sex offender here, sex offender, pointing to Bob Odenkirk in the sketch, is Jay Johnston, who you know.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Have you seen all the photos that he stormed the Capitol?
No.
Oh, yeah.
No shit.
And I'm like, oh, that's a perfect like Reddit or, conspiracy theory. And then I think it was Snopes or whatever is like, jury's still out. But other comedians have said that was him.
Wow.
Like not coming to his defense.
Damn.
He's the really tall guy. He's in the great Everest sketch where he's the star of the Everest sketch with the thimbles. His picture, you've seen it. It's a popular picture because he's still unidentified. I'm going to show
Johnson.
you now. Jay Johnston.
No, I think it's Johnson.
Capital. I'm sure it'll come up anyway.
Oh, maybe it is Johnston.
Comedy fans ID Jay Johnston as Capitol insurrectionist. Dude, I can't share my screen. Here, I don't know how. I guess I do it on my phone. You've worked with him. I think
we wrote on a TV show together for a year, and he was just one of the funniest, coolest dudes. That's so weird that he turned that way. Well, he was an alcoholic from a very young age. He got sober when he was like a teenager, and then he started drinking again, and things changed. Wait, move it a little to the side. Oh yeah, there he is. Wow. Jeez.
How about that?
Here's the problem. You live in Hollywood, and a lot of times you don't work for extended periods of time.
Oh,
and
God,
you
this
just
sounds
get
like
online,
a giant defense.
And then your brain just starts getting fucking warped by reading all these conspiracy. We have a friend of ours became a conspiracy lunatic.
Gibbons. I'm kidding.
We're getting
I wonder when Jay Johnston broke into the Capitol, did he fall back into it like the thimbles? Just kept hitting the door until it broke open? Come on. That's inside comedy mixed with politics. That's a good joke.
Chris Denman, our producer, just put into the Google Doc, he's the voice on Bob's Burgers. And it's obviously Chris's favorite comedian at this point.
Now.
He wasn't until now, yeah.
Well, Chris drove. I think they carpooled there. So that's, at least, listen, as far as MAGA guys go, carpooling's pretty sound move. So hats off to them on that.
Yeah, red hats off on that.
Larry Cleast, rapist, best sketch yet, of course. Well, Chris, you like anything with rape in it, so I'm not surprised that's your favorite sketch.
Yeah.
Of course, he doesn't view it as rape. He views it as, male, very traditional male and female roles.
All right, next story.
Oh, okay.
DoorDash, a top aide to a district attorney in Philadelphia, has been demoted. He was caught moonlighting for DoorDash during work hours. He was delivering food from October to February, and his salary as a first assistant DA was $125,000. Quote, I primarily worked the job at nights and weekends. However, I made the incredibly poor decision to deliver during the workday at times. So, if you're a DA and you're delivering food, you give him a bad tip and all of a sudden your phone's being tapped. You're getting audited by the government.
Maybe he was also blending it. Like, listen, here's your fries, your burger. Also, plead no low contendere. The judge is pretty lenient with that. I think you'll be fine.
Right. Why does my DoorDash guy have wingtip shoes and pinstripe suit?
Okay, it's a little weird. My burger's wrapped in legal notepad, but okay, I guess so. All right.
Why is he arguing about how long it took me to get to the door? He seems contentious.
Okay, yeah.
Now, you used to deliver. You were a food delivery guy.
Wing it.
Back in
It
Boston.
was like 793 Bird Chicken Wings in Boston, Mass. Right near, it was on BU's campus, and we deliver. And there were my car stunk.
You had a shit car, didn't you?
That sounds a little anti-Asian. It was a Subaru.
Oh, that's what I drive
Subaru
now.
wagon, my first car ever. Loved it.
Yep.
It wasn't yet a hackneyed lesbian joke, or maybe it was, and the joke was on me. Anyway, it stunk of buffalo sauce, but I made really good money. and I definitely learned the ins and outs of all of Boston. Now, we would deliver to Harvard a lot, all the schools, but the dreaded, another Asian story. The dreaded delivery route was MIT. And the drivers would all be in the kitchen like, did you fucking tell? It was like something out of Glengarry Glen Ross. It's like about the leads. Did you fucking tell them that we only make money on tips? Like, I'm not doing an MIT run again unless you fucking say that. Because I swear to God, deliver the chicken wings. And it's $8.18, counting out the 82 cents.
No shit.
In front of me.
Wow.
And you would say, we actually only get our money from tips if you want to round up to 12, like total language barrier.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let's just put it this way, they were precise at MIT.
Right.
And I can say, because no one can take my story away from me, I was there, all of them Asian. So there's that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Lot of talk
also,
in the news about Asian racism going on in the country, which was kind of the last bastion, because every other group, Latino, Black, Jewish, even Italian and Irish at a certain point were, sort of targeted for racism and have been defended. But the Asians always kind of slipped. They've been persecuted in this country since they laid down the fucking railroad tracks. They were the first people to take the worst jobs in America, but you never saw a defense of them. There's always been Asian
the internment
jokes.
Camps.
Right. There's always been Asian jokes. This is the first time I'm seeing like pushback against it.
Yeah, remember Sarah Silverman got in trouble with Chinese because she had a joke.
Yeah, she said, I have a friend, and he made a pee-pee in my Coke. And
no, that wasn't. The joke was way better than that.
Yeah, no, I think that was it.
No. I know the joke because it was great, and it had nothing to do with slamming Chinese at all. It was a smart joke. Okay, the joke was this. She told her friend, she's like, I want to get out of jury duty. And the friend said, well, why don't you just write something totally crazy like I hate chinks? And she goes, what? And she was incredibly offended. And she's like, but I would never write that. It's so mean and crazy and all this. And I don't feel that way. And she goes, so what I did is I wrote down, I love chinks. And she got, the police, basically a Chinese activist who was really trying to make a name for himself. But then they had a fight on a show that you used to work on, Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher.
That's right, yeah.
On ABC, the activist and Sarah. Like, it was good TV. They were sitting across from each other and got into it. And what you learned there is it is really, really, really hard to defend a joke, even if you feel the person's misunderstanding it.
Well, because Sarah plays a character in stand-up. There's a context to it. She is playing a out-of-touch kind of jappy girl who kind of has a good heart but doesn't get it. If you don't buy into that premise, then half her jokes are going to be really offensive on paper.
Well, there's no joke without the understanding that it is so wrong with the person. Now, whatever. We don't want letters on this, okay? We've heard it a million times, propagating the word no matter what the context. We get it. And listen, that joke is probably across the line. It's not right up against it, but clearly no malintent and whatever.
Well, also, copy and paste that joke to 2021 and it becomes much more offensive. Back then, you could say so much more on TV. And I think of bits that I did even on Letterman, and that today, even if I did it on a club set that got put on the internet, I would get crucified for.
Right. I don't even think
so Chris is saying
crucified.
that the guy's name is Guy Aoki, and he's Japanese, the one that Sarah had the little battle with. But yeah,
he had to be shot. Really?
That's what Chris is saying, and he really knows people's races. Like, he knows every single person's race.
Well, he probably had to just check his inbox. But I don't know. I do know the guy was incredibly opportunistic and would use anything to get on it. He was a businessman, but he would use anything to get in front of a camera.
Right, and it was definitely, and that's what stood out about it, is that it was so unusual for an Asian person to defend an Asian against an Asian joke, and if it wasn't for him, it certainly would have flied under the radar.
But of course, this comes all the way back to, all right, so where's this coming from? Obviously, there are attacks. I just read about another attack against an old Asian woman in San Francisco where she fought back. That there are people volunteering to walk with elderly Asians in Atlanta now. Like there's an organized effort to try to protect them.
Yeah.
Like, and so I wonder where all this Asian hate is spiking out of nowhere all of a sudden.
Well, it's because of the virus, the coronavirus. There's
It's
all
a
these people that have been.
question. It's a rhetorical. We don't want to go there because we lose sore ass weak listeners. Anyway,
Well,
let's continue.
Hate crimes against the Asian are up 150%. I just read that in the paper.
And whose numbers are you going to believe? The Asians, right? Whoa, okay. Whoa. Back up.
Next story.
Chris will edit that out.
Mike, you want to read this one that you researched so well and wrote up for us?
I didn't research it at all, Gregory, is what you're referring to. I just thought it was funny. Under reopening California, this is true. They are going to reopen with certain, I guess, capacities at reduced capacity. But when they reopen these amusement parks and adventure parks, one of the rules in the California is no screaming on California roller coasters, according to the state guidelines, to reduce the potential spread of the virus.
That's fantastic.
Here's your roller coaster. Nobody scream. Well, didn't it just get a lot scarier from what you told us?
Yeah.
Now we want to scream more.
Yeah. Can you still shit your pants? Because I think you can spread diseases from fecal matter as well. And also, are you allowed to scream when you see that it's $89 to get in? Is that still allowed? $89. Magic Mountain. I went last year.
Now, when you go to the water park, which is next door to it, you have to scream underwater. You have to submerge your whole face in the Corona bath and scream underwater.
They used to have the carnival that came to our town every year, and it had all those old rides. Remember the tilt-a-wheel? The one that spun in circles?
Yeah, well, you just reminded me. That is where the pedophiles go when they don't know where to go when they get out of prison.
Yeah.
Right into a traveling carnival. Okay, yes, I remember Tilt-A-Wheel.
So tilt-a-whirl. And so
that one.
I threw up in it, and it went all over my face and shirt, spinning around. And I vomited at the beginning of the ride, and it got over people next to me. And, and I'm kind of done with amusement parks after that. You like them, right? Don't you fucking love roller coasters?
I did, but I told you the story a few years ago. I took my girls on it was some rare day that their little crunchy Waldorf school had off that no one else did. I'm like, let's go to Magic Mountain. I measured the girls' height, and they were both a little shy of the rides we really want to go on. So I put lifts inside of their sneakers. Swear to God. So we go there, and so Magic Mountain is like aggressive. Like those rides are.
Oh, yeah.
So I had never been on the rides where you get on a roller coaster and then before it pulls out, it's like, zzz, and all of a sudden you're now laying on your back. And you knew it was a wake-up call for Grandpa here, because I was like, they're like, make sure nothing's in your pockets. I'm like, holy shit. So I'm like, okay, like no sunglasses. So I'm like, oh my God. So you put them in lockers and you then go up on your back with your head first looking at the sky, and then that first giant plunge is head first.
Jesus.
Backwards. So anyway, there was another one though, and it was old school roller coaster, and I forget the name of it. It's the big white one. Everyone in California knows what it is. Anyway, and it brags about its G-force. So anyway, we're going down it. It starts doing this death spin, and my peripheral vision starts to close. And all of a sudden I'm like I felt myself passing out, and I fucking shook it off as hard as I could. And then it goes, and I'm like, what was that? I've never experienced that in my life. And then it goes up again, and it's going to do another loop, and it comes down, and I'm like, that didn't really happen. Sure enough, in this tight spin, my peripheral vision starts to shut like crazy. So I'm like, fuck, I got to go to the doctor. Like, what the fuck? So we're pulling, and these two British guys are in front of me, and they're like, dude, that was amazing. And they're like, yeah, but he's like, did you start to go to sleep? And I was, thank God. And they were like younger, healthier guys than me.
Yeah.
But still,
Yeah.
I'm at that point now.
We did a trip one time, and we went to Orlando, and we hit 3 different amusement parks. We hit Disney, Universal. Universal was great because it's got the Harry Potter
Yo, that's
exhibit.
amazing.
It's amazing.
It really
And-
is well done.
And then we rounded it out by going down to Tampa, where they have
Busch Gardens?
Busch Gardens, which is it's like the fucking redneck paradise. Like
Used to go all the time.
the guys that are working there, and it's like the typical carny thing, like no teeth, stupid, obviously drunk, methed out. And I got
You
on a
already said
ride.
it's in Tampa.
What's that?
You already said it's in Tampa.
Yeah.
Don't be
And so I
redundant.
get on this one ride, and it's unregulated. It hasn't been checked in decades, and it spins me around. We were at my mom's after that for like 5 days. I spent 5 days going to the chiropractor every day and laid out flat. My neck got so fucked up from that. That's the last time I'll ever ride a roller coaster.
Oh my God! And we want to go to Action Park in New Jersey. We would die.
Oh, right.
Next story.
Nerf gun. Police
Your
in North
story.
Carolina.
I know
found-
nothing about this story.
Okay, good. Let's see how good you are off the top
Oh.
of your head.
All right.
They found a real gun disguised as a Nerf toy while conducting a drug raid in north of Charlotte. The Glock 19 pistol, along with a 50-round drum magazine, had been painted blue and orange and labeled with the Nerf gun logo to look like a toy. Dude, I saw this. You wouldn't know in a million years this wasn't a fucking toy. It's genius.
Except that it's a 42-pound Nerf.
The firearm was among 20 guns, pistols, rifles, and shotguns that investigators found during the home search on Wednesday, along with cocaine, psilocybin, mushrooms, and marijuana. They also seized $2,300 in cash. They also found a back massager disguised as a rubber penis.
Wouldn't it be the other way around? It would be
No.
disguised as a back massager?
No, the joke is that they found a dildo and the cops thought it was a back massager.
Right. I think I'm right there.
I think you can go in either direction with this joke.
Oh, now you're starting to see the light. It sounds like the greatest 12-year-old birthday party ever. Tons of Nerfs. You got some weed, maybe not, maybe 16-year-old. You got your mushrooms, your Nerf guns.
Yep. And
Only-
just enough money to order fucking tons of pizza afterwards.
Only, yeah.
$2,300 worth of pizza.
Except only one kid's left blowing out the candles at the end. Wow. So I wonder, what's the logic there? Did they want it disguised in case it was ever seen so it wouldn't be just checked out? Or was it disguised for when this guy goes into a mall or a school?
No, I think it's to hide it from the police. I mean, this is North Carolina. If it was Florida, it would be to go into the school. This is North Carolina.
Oh, yeah. No, they're upstanding there. Well, you're going there.
Yes, I'll be there this weekend. But, it's funny, I think that all of us think we were wild when we were younger. But then you hear about guys like this. Mushrooms, cocaine, pot, guns. And you just think, what if I was living a life like that? Wouldn't that be kind of fun?
Aren't you in North Carolina Friday?
Yeah.
All right. Next week, we're going to do North Carolina Man.
Oh, that's good. All right. I'll talk to some people in the front row. I'll have someone videotape it, and then we'll put it on the show.
Also, you're going to be holding the local paper in your hand.
That's right.
But now, what a segue. It's called Florida Man. All right, Gregory, you want to read this letter?
Yeah, somebody wrote in and they said, did you know the reason there are all these Florida Man stories is because the Florida government is required by law to make more information available to the public, including arrest records. Not that they have all the country's white trash. We just get to hear more about it. Megan in, ready for this? New Jersey, which is really the North's Florida, isn't it?
It's a bit of the North Florida, yeah. Okay, many things. I think public records are public records. I'm doubting her story. I'm doubting her understanding. I think you can go to police websites, and you have a right as a citizen to look up any arrest records. I think maybe she's saying they're more detailed there, but let's really get to it. I don't think other states have as many people completely shit-faced riding manatees bareback. I really just doubt
Right.
the
Yeah.
statistics on that.
Yeah. And you think they're riding it. No, they're fucking the manatee.
Yeah. And I know what you're saying. Well, that's because other states don't have manatees. Stop making excuses for Florida. They'd be riding whatever your animal is. What is it in New Jersey? A Bon Jovi fan? They'd be riding Bon Jovi fans, shit-faced, bareback.
Yeah. They would. Speaking of Florida, by the way, the Honda Classic, which is a huge tournament, is going on right now in Florida. Big golf tournament. And as
Another
you know,
Asian story. God, we can't avoid them. Go ahead.
as you know, my cousin Denny McCarthy was in the Players Cup. He did very well last week, and now this week he is in. Where is he now? I'm looking at the leaderboard now. Oh, he fell back. He's in 13th place right now. He was in 3rd place a little while ago. I think he hit a couple in the water, but good luck to Denny McCarthy. You gotta have one person in your family that everybody's proud of. It used to be me, Mike. I was the one all my cousins and aunts and uncles. Oh, Greg's doing comedy. He's on this show. Now it's we got a golfer.
I don't know.
I'm like, good.
I think you could put your foot on him and prop yourself up higher. Just be like, look, 13th place. Everyone calm down about that guy in the family.
Right.
So
I got 3 podcasts.
Yeah, exactly. So also, Megan, here's one from this Florida man shows grandfather's severed ears to deputies in disturbing video. A Florida sicko. First of all, I think that person is, what do they call it when journalists are not being journalists? Making a documentary about Woody versus Mia.
Hey.
No, I think they're putting a little opinion in here. A Florida sicko who allegedly admitted to bashing his granddad in the head with a baseball bat casually pulled out the dead man's ears from his pockets in front of deputies. Disturbing new video shows. So you're saying that that happens in Jersey all the time and it's not reported?
Yeah.
Because it happens in Florida all the time.
Right. It sounds very Native American. That was a big thing. I don't know if you read any Cormac McCarthy, but
Yeah.
the natives used to cut off the ears and they would make necklaces out of them. And the great warriors had 100 ears on a chain around their necks.
I mean, I think it's a very very traditional, not in a positive way, story of war. I mean, I think I think they were doing it in World War I. I mean, weren't they scalping them? Did Tarantino just make up that detail, or do you think they really scalped Germans in World War II?
I hope so. I certainly hope so.
Why do you wish hate on anybody, Greg?
It's so funny. I'm listening to this book now about the Warburgs, who were one of the original German.
Good Lord. Listen to it at 1.5 times speed. You brought it up 4 weeks in a row now. Go ahead.
Let's do
Sorry.
horoscopes.
No, go ahead. Warburg,
Well, it's just
Warburg.
the Germans are this fucking family, the Warburgs, was propped up the German government. They created international trade. They they financed World War I. And then as soon as Hitler comes around, they just start fucking killing all these Jews that were so integral to Germany. And it's just, they're fucking bad people. Do we trust them again, by the way? Do we trust that they're not going to start another world war?
Well, that's the great Norm Macdonald bit that he did in his final Letterman performance.
What'd he say?
Well, he's like, people are like, Korea's going to bomb us. And it was really in the news that month. North Korea can reach California. They're going to bomb us. He's like, and it's on the news constantly. And it's everyone's so afraid. He's like, that's not who I'm afraid of. He's like, if I'm going to be afraid of any other country that's a threat to us. He's like, have you heard of this country, Germany? He's like, I don't know if you're a history buff. I'm going to slaughter it. But he's basically like, I don't know if you're a history buff, but about 100 years ago, this small country, Germany, declared war. And who did they declare war on? The world. And he goes, and then anyway, and then he gets to, and they lose, and we beat them back. And he's like, and just 20 years later, they did it again. He's like, they declared war on the world. And he goes, and I know what you're saying. You're saying like, oh, all right, well, this one little country declared war on the world. It probably wasn't anything. He's like, it was close. It was close.
It is amazing how close it was, because it was really it was Germany, Italy, and Japan, right? Was that the whole axis?
Yeah, is that the axis of evil? Yes. And he's like, they declare war on the world. He's like, who do you think you are? Another planet? Please. Don't trust me. It's so much funnier than what I just said because he's inimitable. Go to YouTube, Norm Macdonald, Germany, or Letterman, and it's his last appearance, which, by the way, is amazing beginning to end. And then Norm Macdonald gets incredibly emotional and has to be hugged by Letterman at the end.
Oh, wow.
Please go watch it because he stops his set, he finishes it, and then he talks about Letterman, which he knew Letterman did not want, and he mentions that.
Yeah. That last week of Letterman was amazing.
Oh, Brian Regan.
Yeah.
All the favorites over the years. Yeah.
Let's do the horoscope, Mike.
Yes. I have not read it, which has probably cost me. I just pasted it in here this morning because I wanted today's. Here we go. Let me make it a little bigger so I can read it. If you wake up this morning and feel glued to the bed, perhaps that's where you should spend the day, Aries.
I've been glued to the sheets a couple times, but I was younger. I was a younger man.
I hope there's something in here about not making it gross, Aries. But, okay, you've been working hard and long these past few weeks. It only makes sense that your body would rebel eventually. This is the day for rest and relaxation. The office will survive without you. Call in sick and then turn off the phone. You're likely to sleep better than you have in a long time. Okay. Is this horoscope writer unaware of the pandemic? Or were these written years ago?
There's literally, you will never do that again. Now that we've learned that people can work from home, do you think there will ever be a sick day allowed in corporate America?
The Northeast has already announced there's no more snow days. They
For
figured out
schools. Yeah.
you don't have to come to school.
Yeah, right. It started with our cell phones where you couldn't really leave the office because they could still reach you. And the fax machine. No, it started with the fax machine. And then it was the cell phone. And now it's Zoom. And you're done. You're just fully 24/7 tethered to work.
So take that, Leos or Sagittarius or whoever the hell the lazy ones are. Aries have been working hard. This guy's saying we should lie to our jobs and not go to work because we've earned it.
And by the way, I can't do that. Like, if I was really sick, maybe, but like, I can't stay in bed all day.
You think Chris Denman can call in sick to like organized riots?
No.
Gun running?
Yeah, they'll take a bat to you if you do that. They're pretty severe.
There's no weekends even. That's when they're their busiest because people are gathering at malls. All the victims are out on weekends.
That's right.
Future victims, targets.
Right. The majority of the time, the minorities are out on weekends.
Yeah. You got to find them. Okay.
Entertainment.
Okay. First story, Britney Spears is considering a tell-all Oprah interview.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Britney Spears is reportedly willing to share her side of her life story, but it has to be on her terms. Entertainment Tonight reported that the pop star is grateful for the outpouring of support from fans and fellow stars in the weeks following the premiere of the New York Times-produced documentary Framing Britney Spears. So, I guess she saw what the masterful job that Oprah did with Meghan and Harry and was like, yeah, I want that super focused journalist named Oprah. I want her to say, what? 3 times to what I have to say. And then I want her to be like, wait a minute. Are you saying you felt trapped? Like it's a fucking children's news show.
Yeah. By the way, you're blackfacing right now.
You know.
Did I tell you about blackfacing on the last show?
Yeah, the what? So I've had
using Oprah saying what as a meme was something Colbert and a bunch of people did, and certain black activists said that's blackfacing.
Okay, here's what I would say. I would say the black community, shame on them, because I think they're co-opting the white what, which has been since the Marx Brothers and since that's all the Three Stooges did. Did you zoinks?
Right.
So
it goes back to Moses. When God was talking to Moses, he was like, what?
Hey, black, stop appropriating our what?
Right.
Our flabbergasted, big-eyed. It's in every bad comedy that was made in the first half of this century.
Although
whites should get credit for it.
I would say if somebody was doing the what in the Little Rascals, it was definitely what was the black kid's name? Alfalfa.
Just all of that last 10 seconds was wrong. It was buckwheat, you fucking moron.
Buckwheat.
By the way, it is funny that you mixed up alfalfa and buckwheat. What are these fucking names? So, you know your show. Like, listen, you have to create character names if you're going to put on a production, and you should check your work if Spanky's your most like sort of normal name.
Maybe the guy was cooking and he got a message that he had to come up with the character names, and he just started reading ingredients. He was making pancakes.
He's masturbating, making he's like, I already have Spanky, but wait, what am I doing with my other hand? I'm making some flapjacks here.
And I already got the syrup. It's on the back of my fist right now.
Yeah. So, all right, can't wait for that Oprah interview.
That'll be good.
Okay, so before we get to High Maintenance, have you watched any more High Maintenance?
I've watched the whole first 2 seasons. I can't stop watching it.
Oh, they're great. Did you see the one that ended in a deli, but an Hasidic kid, an Orthodox Jew, wound up going clubbing in Manhattan? Have you seen that one yet?
Yes, that was great.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That whole Hasidic world is so fucking weird because they're living in like the hippest part of Brooklyn. They're in the middle of Williamsburg where there's all these hipsters and girls with no bras and the young people are going back and forth between 2 worlds, a lot of them. And it showed this kind of get together of Hasids that were like smoking pot but then they were going right back to, the Orthodox religion right after it.
And they had their own weed, which was a surprising, moment in it. Like, we, like, because she thought she was offending them by saying, you guys get high. But to me, it also feels like, listen, you and I have worked on shows, and it's like, oh my God, first of all, it just felt, instead of casting it, it felt like they were half a documentary at that point. Like,
oh, totally. Yeah.
It sounds like, hey, do you mind? We're going to improvise. Here's kind of the bullet, but maybe not even bullet points. But our story is that a journalist is going to date this guy, but you guys are real. This is your real apartment. Do you mind if we shoot it here and bring your real friends in? And you can even tell us if something goes too far. Like, it felt like that.
No, I was thinking that, like, is there really an actor that has the tails on his hair and who really looks that? And also they were speaking Yiddish, behind her back. They were speaking Yiddish to each other. Or I should say they were probably speaking Hebrew. You think they were speaking Hebrew or Yiddish?
The first 5 minutes was subtitled because of that.
Right.
With the 2 guys in the apartment. Also, same episode. What about the I guess it was blacks and Latinos who were at that crazy club?
Yeah.
Unbelievably dry. That was a casting call too?
Yeah, whoever's doing the casting on High Maintenance is doing a fucking good job.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Now, it captures New York in the way that Girls tried to. It really captures Brooklyn, and it definitely satirizes the the influx of people that have gentrified the neighborhood, but it also captures, like, I think, a real local feel. It's very even-handed, and it captures the whole breadth of Brooklyn.
I'm going to find this one for you that was from YouTube before it was on HBO, of High Maintenance, where that guy from Downton Abbey plays a cross-dresser, if that's even... I'm so scared to say anything nowadays. Is cross-dresser still a thing? Can I say cross-dresser?
No.
Really?
No, I have no idea. What do I know?
Okay.
But I got a letter, by the way.
Then I guess a guy who's a little light in his loafers who dresses up like a fairy. Is that there? There you have it. You're going to take cross-dresser away from me?
You have to say fella in that sentence. I got a letter, by the way, to the website, fitzdogradio@gmail.com, if you ever want to drop us a note.
Hey,
send us a logo. Send us some music. We're looking for some more songs. We're running a little low on theme songs, so crank them out.
Do anything.
And then also, so I got a letter from this guy that said, Mike asked you if you'd seen High Maintenance, and you said no. And then he sends me a screenshot of an email he'd sent to me last October, asking if I'd seen, and he listed a few shows, and I said, oh yeah, I loved High Maintenance, and I haven't seen blah, blah, blah. And he goes, so you lied to Mike? And it's like, no. And I remember writing that, and I was like, no, I thought it was High Fidelity. I thought the guy was saying, have you seen High Fidelity, which was the Jack Black movie based on the book by Nick Hornsby.
You save your lies for more important issues, to me, I think.
I think that's why I lied to him.
Yeah.
I try not to lie.
I interrupted myself before High Maintenance, but then I couldn't resist getting into it. That's the ADD in me. But
right.
What was I going to talk? Okay. So one thing during the pandemic is, and I'm sure a lot of people do this with, like, 100 greatest novels of all time, 100 greatest movies of all time. Like, what a better time. Why would I leave this planet not having seen most of the 100 best films that an aggregate? You go to, like, filmcommentary.com, sure.
Rotten Tomatoes.
IMDb. Of course, you go to the Academy here, whatever it's called. The AFI list, the 100 best movies, right? All of them. Okay. You know what movies in every single one of those lists, maybe not IMDb or maybe not Rotten Tomatoes, which still has, like, fucking, the Hulk is in there. Yeah, the Hulk is in there. So is The Searchers, John Wayne.
Really?
1956-ish, I think. The Searchers, John Wayne, and it's a John Ford directed movie. It's in everybody's top 10. I watched it last night. It sucks.
Yeah.
I can't believe you said yeah. Now, I was on a couple of substances, so I don't fully trust myself. But first of all, they try to be funny a couple times. It's terrible. And there were fun. I mean, you can't blame it. Billy Wilder was doing great shit. You can't blame it on the year 1956. But it cuts back to John Wayne is just the worst.
He's the worst. I can't stand John Wayne. Totally overrated.
Worse than overrated. He's just fucking. Also, my big theory, I do think he's gay.
Oh, I believe that.
I think it's a fact. He's such a just giant queen. And by the way, the reason there's disdain in my voice is because he was so against gays. That's if you're wondering where I'm coming from.
Yeah, he was super conservative.
So that's my hate or that's why I'm so sort of angrily pointing the finger at him, calling him a gay. But yeah, motherfuck him and John Wayne. That's what Public Enemy said about Elvis and John Wayne. I really do hate him, actively hate him. And he's just prancing around, and he probably changed some of the dialect. So much of The Searchers makes no sense. You're like, why would that scene even be in here?
Yeah.
It's just terrible.
I'm looking at an article about
Natalie Wood. Natalie Wood's in it. Young Natalie Wood.
No.
And she's captured, and then they're like, she's a Native American. By the end of it, I guess, because the Native Americans, the Comanche or whatever, however John Wayne decided to pronounce their name, they had captured her and brainwashed her.
In the interview with Playboy magazine from 1971, John Wayne states, among other things, quote, I believe in white supremacy, and calls Midnight Cowboy a story about two fags.
Yeah, well...
And he's also said shit about Indians.
He is right about that.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Imagine what he was like with Brokeback Mountain, which is one of my easily my favorite movie that year, I think.
Oh, that they made a Western with gay guys in it?
Oh, yeah, that they
Yeah.
went, that
Yeah.
the two of them slipped in the tent and did what John Wayne was fantasizing about every day of his life.
Right, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he was a famous guy for also, like, they said he'd be the last guy at the bar, but then he'd be the first guy on set in the morning. And that's a sign of a guy who's holding on to a lot. And you know who else is famous for that? Not necessarily drinking the night before, but first on the set, Tom
Gubbins.
Cruise.
Oh. Well, yeah, but you don't think Tom Cruise is partying the night before.
No, but he's the first guy on set. He
Oh.
does all his own. He'll get to set 2 hours early to practice the stunts that he's going to do for himself. That's a twisted human being.
Okay, you ready? James Corden.
Yeah.
We're doing a thing with Tom Cruise, and to promote Mission Impossible, they're gonna. Corden has never been skydiving, and was legitimately fearful of it, and he's gonna meet Cruise out in the desert here outside of L.A., and Tom Cruise is gonna take James Corden skydiving. Great late night bit. Let's do it. Show up on the set. Tom Cruise has already jumped that day because he wanted to pick the tandem guy that would be best for James Corden. Then they go and they do the jump. Keep in mind, Tom Cruise is just a guy whose time we're kind of wait. Like, you know, everyone wants to have him on the talk show promoting Mission Impossible. So he's just being bothered like everybody else who has to do these publicity tours. Colbert's probably going to fucking take up 2 days of his time to do another stunt with him. And, they get to the ground. He's like, we're going up again. And Corden, who's terrified, is like, what? And he goes, I saw where the cameras were jumping. You need better coverage than that. Swear to God.
No shit.
Fire up the planes. They jump a second time.
Wow.
Say what you will about Tom Cruise, which can be a lot. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes I'm like, in a different direction, but can I get a little of that drive in my life?
I know. He has lived his life. And
He
you know
rolls-
what? People who do Dianetics are like that. Dianetics fucking gives you...
Every
gives
cult
you-
has good things about it. And
Right.
you can laugh at that statement if you want. It's absolutely... Even when you look at the guy, Raniere, a lot of this stuff made sense until he went a little far with the rape, the widespread rape and torture, and the branding. But the reason it became popular is these people weren't all insane.
Yeah.
Things made sense.
Well, look, fascism is the best
something.
way to run a country, without a doubt, because you're not changing policies every 4 years, and everything doesn't get bottleneck in a fucking Congress or a parliament that shuts you down. If you got one person, and even if they're moderately competent, you're still gonna be a more successful country. The problem is it goes too far, and all of a sudden there's concentration camps, and all of a sudden there's people being taken off to prison without any transparency. So it doesn't work. If you could just stop a little short with cults and fascism, the world would be a better place.
Well, the ones that get really big and all of a sudden are trying to kill half the planet and declare war on the world, it's because probably the early brochures had things that made obviously they're preying on fear and all that stuff, but it's probably like, hey, self-actualization, let's live to your potential, blah blah blah, like all right, this makes sense a little. And it's like, yes, and you'll help us build the gas chambers. Wait, which
Hold
page,
on, what?
where page was that on?
What about the philosophy
This
part?
jumped from work hard, play hard to building gas chambers.
right.
Can we back it up a little?
Yeah, we're gonna attack the world, like the whole world.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
and of course, John Wayne, don't even remember Little Feather accepting the Oscar for Brando. He had to be restrained in the wings because he was furious
Oh,
that
no
the Oscars
shit.
were being soiled by that.
Really?
honestly.
Fuck him.
And the famous last shot, which gets all this credit, John Ford was in the cabin, the log cabin thing, looking out the door, and it's the most iconic shot of John Wayne framed. He doesn't come in, he's a silhouette, and then he saunters off, and that's his famous stupid bow-legged John Wayne walk, which looks like he's hammered, which is pigeon-toed. Like he's so flamboyant. That's what he is. And by the way, he always wore a neckerchief. Even off camera, he wore a neckerchief. I forget that guy.
Now, and then there was that movie, The Quiet Man, that John Ford also directed, where he beats the fuck out of Maureen. Was it Maureen O'Hara or Catherine O'Hara at the end? She's like, she's a ball buster, but the big payoff at the end, the big happy act 3, is him dragging her through the fields and knocking her down, and everybody kind of cheers. What a great guy.
He was such a dick in this movie too, but it really felt like, you know, I guess maybe he was perfectly cast in that way. Like, you don't want to go like, you know, the guy's sister was killed by Indians in this little like bunker thing by the house, and then the kid's trying like, where is she? He's like, you don't want to go in there, and then he starts coming up and he just winds up with the biggest right and some punch smashes him like, I told you don't want to go in there.
Imagine being his kid. He was probably the worst fucking father. I wonder how his kids turned out. I'm going to look that up for next week. How did he turn out?
You're David Niven, and you're a feet kind of, and you're stylish. You pull off a neckerchief. I get it. You're a big fucking, like, homophobic bore. You don't get to wear a neckerchief, and you don't pull it off. All right.
Can I? Oh, hold on. I got to plug my computer in. Oh, shit. I'm losing power, and my plug may not work. Hold on.
I think I was losing power on my John Wayne diatribe. Is that part of it?
Yeah, I think it sucked my computer dry.
Do you have that filter where after a certain while of John Wayne bashing, it starts to just shut down?
Yeah, but I diverted it to do the Woody Allen story last week.
Oh, got it. All right, so I snuck in. Your sort of guard was down on the John Wayne bashing.
Speaking of entertainment, can I tell you about the fucking worst entertainment of last week for me? First of all, I'm listening to that Warburgs. Now it starts with it starts with I finished this book called The Underground Railroad by this guy something Whitehead, and it's about slavery, but it is the most graphic, heavy, hard to take descriptions of how badly the slaves were treated. So I finished that, and I'm in a mood. What?
Were these slaves trapped?
And they traded you?
Wait. They were racist? The slave owners were racist?
They separated you from your children?
By the way, we're joking. The royal family furnished exactly what we're talking about, actually. Never mind. Move on. Go ahead.
There we go. So I finished this book, The Underground Railroad, and then my buddy Pete Cars, who was like my best friend growing up, he sends me this documentary that he made about migrant farm workers in the Northwest, and it is devastating how taken advantage of they are and how hard their lives are.
Are you talking about the Grapes of Wrath sitch?
No, modern, like current.
Oh, migrant now. Oh, okay. But
yeah,
in a weird way, whites were the migrants originally, you know, the Dust Bowl and all that.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay,
and then I'm in bed, and then we watch this movie called Minari, which is about this Korean family that moves to the Midwest to start a farm. And from the time the movie starts, you're cringing, going, any number of things are going to go wrong here. You know, there's so many precipices that you know they're going to fall down. And of course, they fall down. And you just go like, oh, this is so fucking gut-wrenching. And then I get into bed and I put on my fucking Warburgs audio tape, and all of a sudden the Nazis are closing in on them. So I turn it off. I'm so bummed out. I turn it off, and Erin is reading the Sunday Times in bed, and I go, read me Modern Romance. Modern Romance is the feel-good piece of the Sunday Times every week.
Go for it.
It's about somebody meeting at a train station after being friends from grammar school, and they fall in love, or somebody gets sick and they heal and they're by their bedside. So she reads it to me. Well, hasn't this girl been molested from the age of 7? And she's an orphan, and she's abused. And I just fucking, I did not sleep that night. I was up all fucking night.
It's like, holy shit, turn on fucking Bob Ross or whatever that painter is. He's like, and so what you do is if you're a cutter like I am, you take some of that red, you just put it in here, you use the red from your veins right on the sunset. Whoa, Ross, even you? Where can I get relief?
That was a good one, Mike Gibbons.
Sure.
What'd
what
you
are we up
watch
to
this
now?
week?
Oh, international news. Oh, international section.
Oh, we're already there. We're already there.
By the way, I saw Minari. I liked it, but it is not the week to watch Minari of a Asian family moving to the South. In the movie, were they in Arkansas or
Arkansas,
Georgia?
yeah. Is that the Midwest or the South, Arkansas?
What are you talking about? It's the South.
Is it?
Bill Clinton, yeah.
Okay.
It's
Get mad at me. I don't know.
It's east of Missouri. Okay. The Queen has been forced to cancel her birthday parade in London. Her Majesty, 94, was planning to hold the annual event in the capital on June 12th to mark her official birthday. The reason given? Meghan ruined it. I'm not in the mood to party.
And you cut out most of the racist things that were involved with that statement.
And the celebration is actually, in a weird way, it's called Trooping the Color.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Not to
So-
be confused with what, Mike?
Is that all I wrote? Not to be confused with?
Was that a little placeholder for a joke to be written later?
Those are function keys. They write my setups and transitions for me.
Are we doing Mad Libs, the podcast?
It might as well say talk about color. ... I think I was going to write, not to be confused with trouncing the color, but
Oh, there you
I
go.
thought that was weak, and I'm like, there has to be a better something. Obviously, being racist against the color that's better than trouncing the color, but I gave up on it.
And then you went to TikTok and forgot about it with your
Exactly. To my
You know,
credit,
it's
I'm not on TikTok yet.
ADD.
To my
And
discredit.
that's actually, it's a great parade, the royal parade, because Prince Andrew will throw royal beads to any of the loyal subjects who flash their tits.
That's how he meets his ladies.
And it's a shame because the royal band had just learned how to play WAP. They're trying to show diversity.
Have you seen there's a video of some girl, her dad's a very good trumpet player, so she has him play these pop songs, the trumpet parts.
Yeah.
So he does like Kanye, and he did Wet Ass Pussy, so it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess it's TikTok, I think.
Yeah.
I see it on Instagram.
My TikTok's been letting me down lately. The last couple days, nothing good. Nothing good. It's really fucking, because it learns you, but it seems to be where our relationship is not good right now. They're not in tune with me.
Was Prince Andrew, he was the one that supposedly slept with the underage girl that
Yeah. With Epstein.
how thankful is he for this Meghan and Harry interview?
To take the focus off of him.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, there was damning, again, at least three sides to everything. But the documentary on Jeffrey Epstein had there were the photographs, the damning photographs. And then, of course, what she said. And if half of what she said was true, I don't think there's any denying the guy's a creep.
He's a creep,
So-
and this royal family needs to be canceled. I have no idea why English people put up with taking their tax dollars to support these fucking. What do they do? What do they represent?
I'm
Colonialism?
going the other way. Did I tell you my plan? I want Meghan and Harry to become America's royalty.
Oh, I like it.
I think I've made fun. I think I already said this last week, but I've made fun and hated my whole life the royal family. The Clash probably taught me that early. So did Elvis Costello and you with your Irish diatribes. But I don't know. The country is now so fucking divided and almost irreparably that it's like, listen, Reagan was kind of like a king. The guy, he did a lot of damage. We wouldn't let this royal family do damage. We wouldn't let them do policy. But maybe they're there for the pomp and circumstance when Congress is literally killing themselves.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it could be a good diversion.
I do know how comforting the Queen Mum was, legitimately comforting to people who didn't even like them. Not all of them, of course, but to some people that didn't like them. When she came on with her message during COVID, we've been through things like this. She was friends with, Churchill, like, I've seen dark times. We're going to get through this. That's pretty comforting.
She also fought against Diana when she was trying to work with people with AIDS. She said it was inappropriate for her to be going to Africa and holding AIDS babies. Fuck them. Fuck them.
Also, it was a little weird to keep Diana out of the royal palace. She planted landmines all around the royal palace. That was a little weird.
Is that when Linda McCartney visited?
She knew there. Wait, not Linda. You mean his new wife who was missing a leg?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I got the wrong one. Linda had her legs.
Linda had her legs. You couldn't play tambourine like that without two sound legs on the ground.
Wait, who was the girlfriend who had one leg?
Wife, I think.
Right. And then did she die?
I don't know. I don't. No, they divorced.
Oh.
No, I think there'd be a true crime documentary about Paul McCartney if all of his wives were dying.
Yeah. Right.
It's pretty easy for her to fall down a staircase like in that documentary if she has one leg.
Yeah.
Yep, we're going there.
Heather
Mills. There it is.
Heather Mills. Okay.
Damn it. Yeah.
Let's talk about the Czech zoos.
Another international story, Greg. Lonely chimps at Czech zoos take to Zoom to connect during this lockdown. Two groups of chimpanzees in two different zoos in Czechoslovakia plunged into loneliness and boredom amid the pandemic, but they found a new way to stay entertained thanks to an idea from the concerned zoo staff: daily Zoom calls.
Oh, what a great idea.
At the beginning, this is a quote, at the beginning, they approached the screen with defensive or threatening gestures, but they have since grown to enjoy the connection. And now they're just jacked up on edibles and binging true crime like the rest of us.
You're right.
We completely ruined this beautiful animal.
Yeah. I mean, that's just it. You know, the chimps, they really missed the whole thing of being provoked by shitty kids jacked up on soda and ice cream. Now they bring that magic back into their lives.
And by the way, I just want to throw this out there. When they watched the Woody and Mia documentary, they went, and I think this is a quote, apeshit, which is next level chimp behavior.
So when I do a pun, I feel a certain judgment from you and a condescension, and yet you pull that fucking turd out?
There are levels of wordplay, Greg, and there's levels. And apeshit on a chimp watching Woody and Mia is advanced wordplay. I have to say it. Your simple wordplay earlier, I don't know what that was. That was first impulse low-hanging fruit.
It was Jerk de Soleil,
brain.
but you know what? That's the point.
Oh, your rhyme. You
if
rhymed
it's quick, it was quick. It happened just like that. I didn't plan it in advance.
You had all week.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, you had
as you put your stories in 12 minutes before we start the podcast.
I was a little late this week.
You're a little late. I also like the it's free to join, by the way, this Zoom thing. You can watch it for free, but you have to buy the premium membership to watch them actually jerk off.
The chimps?
Yeah, imagine how often they got to wipe that screen down on the Zoom, on the chimp's end.
Our gold level membership, they will throw their semen right at the lens.
Mommy, what's the chimp doing?
You're not getting that in private only or whatever the hell that stripping site is now where housewives and moms are stripping, fans only.
Oh, right. And what's the one where...
Only fans?
What's the one where it flips through to different people's screens? Everybody shows themselves?
Oh, that was the best. I was working on a late night show when that happened.
Oh, my God. Oh, Chat Roulette.
Chat Roulette. It was like 8 out of 10 of them were guys masturbating.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And this would be 1 out of 50 would be a chimp masturbating.
Imagine another planet like watching us and being like, this is what happens when like a new technology gets released. Like that's human nature generally.
Yeah. Right.
You couldn't really defend it. You'd be like, yeah, I mean, definitely not everybody, but too many, definitely too many.
But that's the history of technology. I read this article about it. Like from caveman days when they started drawing on cave walls, a lot of it was fucking somebody up the ass. It was like chicks getting boned. And then when they came up with the photocopy machine, it was so that they could make pornographic pictures that they were distributing. That was one of the main uses for the printing press when it first came out.
Yeah, the Gutenberg movable type. The first thing they thought it would be the Bible. Interestingly enough, the church didn't want the Bible printed, and I think I'm probably slaughtering all this, so don't even write about it. But I think Luther is the one that called bullshit because he got his own copy and was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What we're being taught is not what this says. So the printing of the Bible slowed down a bit, and it was pornography.
Yeah.
It was whatever you'd call graphic novels and all that stuff, smut. And then smut decided the technology, which was it going to be, VHS or Betamax?
Yep.
Smut decided that. They went VHS instead of Betamax. And you think we'd be zooming with this speed without pornography? Also, taking online commerce. There was a whole movie about that. The technology to encrypt your credit card payments, again, porn.
Yep. And what's Bitcoin? Bitcoin is so you can pay for fucking sex slaves being imported from another country.
And terrorism and storming the Capitol.
Yeah. I told you my broker, I called my broker about 9 months ago, and I said, I got a couple tips on Bitcoin. Let's buy some. And he goes, I won't do it. Because we go with him because he does socially conscious investing. He won't invest in like petroleum, tobacco, anything he thinks is unethical.
Okay.
So I make less money, but I feel good about it. But so he won't do Bitcoin because of that. And then it fucking doubled. It doubled.
Greg, I would, but we have most of your money parked in patchouli oil. So you want to sell that now? I wouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got
I'd stay long on patchouli oil. Are you in oil, Greg? Yeah, patchouli. I'm just going to work out the jokes on the fly here. All right. What do we got?
sports.
Oh, Jesus. Sports.
Head story. My cousin Denny McCarthy. Let me check the leaderboard right now.
What place
now
is he?
in. Oh, he's shit in the bed now.
A follow-up.
He's in 18th. He's in 18th place. He started the day in 3rd.
You were too much of a pussy to do my bet that we talked about last week. So was Rabi. I wanted to bet all the unders. We had a friend text me.
You want to explain the tournament, the sport, the context?
Well, I did last week, but it's March Madness, and I'll skip the long story.
College basketball.
Oh, Jesus.
Jesus Christ.
No, it's the other March Madness, wrestling. And so don't you have the big wrestling brackets on your wall? So it's badminton. So I bet every under, and we have a bet, and my friend bets every over. There's like 63 games. So anyway, this year a friend texted Rabi and me and goes, so you guys doing your bet? And we're like, I'm trying. And Rabi won't take it. So he goes, what should I do? Should I bet every over or every under? And I'm like, of course. So anyway, he goes with me because I'm a more sensible person, and he bet every under. The 4-game play-in, which was Wednesday night, I think, or whatever, or Thursday, 3 out of the 4 unders. And then he gave me an update on Friday, 7 out of the 8 games that had already been played, unders. I would have been crushing it at $100 a game.
$100 a game, you would have won about $1,000.
I would have been close to 1,000, I think. Yeah.
Other big sports today. Ireland fucking trounced England in rugby today. It was a big tournament, and I watched.
I don't like that.
I watched a bunch of it. Let me tell you something, man. You played rugby, and I respect that. These guys, they are animals. They are so thick and so strong, and they're getting hit from behind, in front. They put their heads down straight into a tackle. It's fucking crazy.
And I will say, more than soccer, they do nothing but run.
Oh,
because, listen, soccer, as we know, they run especially compared to American sports, they run their asses off nonstop. But there's positions where defense holds a line and they wait till the action comes their way.
The defense rests.
Rugby, the defense, that's a good one, Greg.
There we go.
That's
and
a
like that, lightning.
That's a sophisticated wordplay. No rhyme even. So anyway, rugby, all of them, we ran constantly.
And these are big guys running like that. A lot of these guys are fucking thick.
Of course.
Who
you
was that
kidding
guy
me?
who was on your team that was from England that was really kind of husky?
There was a couple, and those guys were, talk about like keep calm and carry on. They'd be bleeding, and they were tough. And, we were American football players, most of us. And by the way, I only played high school football. We had a guy that came over. This is how good he was. He eventually made it onto the American Eagles, which is our national rugby team from Boston University, Wally. But he quit
Wally.
football.
Yeah.
Wally was legit psycho. Wally quit football, Boston University football, which is, I think, is that Division I?
Yeah.
Maybe?
D1.
Not good, don't get me wrong, but there were players, and he came over, and, and he had to learn how to hit the right way, otherwise he would have never lasted. But these British guys were tougher than Wally.
And they get into that scrum, and they're leaning straight forward, just fucking pushing with everything in their legs. It's insane to watch.
And by the way, do you know, in that scrum, one of the moves is you hit the ground, and so you're not allowed to touch the ball's on the ground, and two guys leaning together like, they're like this, I don't know what you'd call it, like this.
enmeshed?
They're enmeshed, and it's like a tent over the ball, and you're not allowed to touch it. So what you have to do is you have to push the other team, so with your feet, you can kick the ball backwards so your backs can get the ball, and then it's thrown out of the scrum. So it's like the opposite of a tug of war. It's a push of war over the ball. One technique is one of the guys gets on the ground and lays on the far side of the ball, so the guys trying to kick it back can't kick it back because your body's blocking it.
Right.
So they just kick the guys back mercilessly with cleats.
Jesus.
Like, I don't know how more rugby players aren't paralyzed.
What was the worst injury you got playing rugby?
Oh, I had to go to the hospital. I got a blowout fracture on my eye, and what happened was the other team was winning, and we were fucking furious. And like a bad athlete, I let my emotions get the worst of me, and we were kicking off. And the last words I said, I turned to the guy next to me. I'm like, I feel sorry for the guy who catches this. Cut to me being taken off the field bleeding. Forced like 14 seconds later. I ran down, typical stupid American. I ran down as fast as I could, and I wanted to stand this guy up and drive him into the ground. And I went in for it and to tackle him against all, like, the British guys would have never had this thought. They would have never tackled him this way. They would have been like, what's the best way to tackle him so we get the ball and move forward and I don't get hurt? And I got an elbow, and a blowout fracture. I guess your eye sits in 4 bones. Here come the letters from the few doctors that listen to our show. And one of the bones, I think, broke. And it could have been bad news. And my retina became partially detached.
Whoa, no shit.
Yeah, very true.
Damn. John
So-
Wayne would have loved that fucking sport.
Of course he would. I mean, how gay is it? I wanted to smash a guy as hard as I could.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Speaking of which, let's get into some science.
Okay.
All right, let's go straight down to they're going to clean up space, huh?
I don't have anything on this story. It's
All right,
just,
let's skip it. Should we go to
Oh.
business? Let's go to business.
This is what you need to know about that story, though. We've polluted space so
Oh,
badly, we now
going
have to
back.
start cleaning it up.
Yes, we have apparently the equivalent of 720 school buses worth of metal floating around in space. But space
Have we
is pretty
talked about
fucking
this?
big.
Go ahead.
Space is pretty fucking big, though.
It was on some show. Maybe it was in the movie Nomadland. I don't know where I saw it, but it was pretty profound to me. And I think I've even said these exact words, setting it up on another podcast here that we've done. That space now, looking at the night sky, the natural night sky is gone forever.
Yeah.
And no human ever, unless you're watching old footage, will ever see the pure nighttime sky, because now it's strewn not only with litter, it's strewn with all these things that are lighting it up, satellites, space stations, and all our debris. But like, There is no, and there's a ton of satellites up there, and it's a very unnatural night sky now.
There's only one solution. We gotta launch that Swedish chick up there, the one with the autism. She'll straighten it out.
You got to tell me more about this.
Greta Thunberg?
Oh, the environmentalist child who won like maybe the Nobel or the Pulitzer or a gold star on her forehead, some prize probably.
There's a star girl floating in the sky.
Nice. Business, go ahead.
Business. Bitcoin is down a couple thousand this week. It's at 58.8 thousand,
Still
which
very
is
high.
very high, very high. Norm Macdonald, I remember I was reading his tweets about 2 weeks ago, and he was like, going to wait till it hits 45, then I'm going to buy it up. It went down to about 46. He didn't buy, shot up to 58.
The context, he is famously, self-admittedly, the worst gambler who's lost everything in his life twice.
Yeah.
So that's who you're taking your advice from if you're following his leanings regarding Bitcoin or any investments.
Our contest goes on. Investopedia, not too late to join up. Go to the site. Go halfway down on the left-hand side. You'll see join the whatever it's called, fantasy, whatever.
I'm going to do it. I'm smelling some good shorting opportunities this week.
Do it. Get in. Mike still hasn't touched his 100,000, but Morningstar Stonks is up to $260,000. He's the leader. He bought a lot of that GameStop stock, and I think he bought stuff on margins. So there's two guys. I shouldn't say guys. They could very well be women or homosexuals. And
Wait. Okay, go ahead. A lot of questions. Go ahead.
So there's two people that are up and above 200,000. Otherwise, like third place is at around like 140,000. So that just shows you what you can do when you buy on margin. And the loser, once again, week after week, Fitter 111 is down to up to 30,000, up a couple thousand this week.
He, I'm sure, has a bad bet story where he would have been above Sunday morning stonks if things had gone a little differently.
Yes. That's the way it can flip. If you buy on margin, you can swing down too. I have swung down. I started with 100,000. I now have, ready for this? $99,700.
You're down 300, but luckily I paid you 400 because your man crush on Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, yeah. That was
All right.
weird because I had a man crush on him, which I lost halfway through the season. So I always felt very mixed when the Bucks won this year.
You didn't feel mixed just about the homoerotic thoughts?
He's a good-looking guy.
He's a very good-looking guy.
Yeah.
Did he get plugs? Wasn't he?
I gotta think he got plugs. Absolutely.
Well, man, they're good. But wasn't he like? And maybe not. I don't know. But I'm sure people have the side-by-side photos. If so.
Yeah, I think that when you have that helmet on all the time and you're taking it on and off, I really think that would make your hair fall out, wouldn't it? There's not that many football players with full heads of hair that far into their careers.
I just thought you were going to say like mats it down so it's hard to tell how thin it's getting.
You know what happened?
Maybe his helmet has those ultraviolet lights or whatever those helmets that they claim helps hair loss.
Right.
Maybe that's why he keeps it on the sideline so much.
Well, write us and let us know if you want to send letters to the editor, fitzdogradio@gmail.com. And
that's a fair question.
Which,
that's a fair question. We're not saying he's done any procedures with his hair, but we're asking, has he?
Has he? We're putting it out there. Letters to the editor. Let's read some. Chick named Joanne who says, I seem to really have a crush on these guys. I can see that. We're
Wait,
charming.
who said that?
A woman named Joanne.
Oh, cool.
And we also had a woman write in who is interested in Mike Gibbons. She says, hi, this is Stacy. Haven't missed an episode since you started the podcast. Look forward to it. Laugh out loud. I have so many questions for you both. I really would like to get to know Mike Gibbons. He really makes me laugh. We are close to the same age. We both have a similar... You lost him on that.
My age? Ugh.
We
and
really.
I'm not, Stacy, I'm sure you're incredibly attractive. It is just a joke about how old I am. Go ahead.
We have a similar sense of humor. My hope for 2021 would be to meet him, possibly over Zoom, and who knows, maybe in person.
Stacy, why don't we meet on Chat Roulette? That's where I do my best work.
She should just get on there and wait.
Oh, she'll find me. She'll
Yeah.
find me. I pop up. Trust me.
So are you interested in doing a Zoom call with her?
What am I interested in adding another Zoom to my schedule? What? How about Stacy? How about Stacy write in next week and we'll slowly learn more about her?
All right, Stacy, right into the podcast and let's hook this up. Mike is single and ready to mingle.
Just like everybody during this pandemic, right?
That's right. Then we got something from Brian G. Heard you complaining about people asking you questions they could easily Google.
I know where this is going. I know where this is going. Yes, Brian, I'll do a Zoom with you. I am single and ready to mingle.
There's an old website that is apparently still active called Let Me Google That For You, where you type
did this. Wait, why don't you Google our podcast and listen to last week's? You did this one.
Well, it ties into the Warburgs. They set this up, the Warburgs. Did we do this one? Fitzdog, tell Mike I love the billboard idea. I'm sure
yes, we did.
Okay.
By the way, in fairness, I do want to say this. I can't really keep track of our podcast too much. You do 3 a week.
Yep.
With letters in all 3. And you get mail regarding all 3, of course. I don't know how you do it. Actually, I changed that. I don't know how you don't do it.
I don't know how you forget to take your fucking Ritalin. I'm not taking enough Ritalin. That's why I'm forgetting all this shit. I kind of got off of it. I don't really take it anymore.
Hold on. I have to buzz my kid in.
I'll read this one from Charles McLennan, who says, hey there, Fitzbald. Thanks, fuckface.
See? Now that's world-class pun right there.
I'm listening to the newest Sunday Paper podcast, and you're talking about the guy in Beverly Hills that got his $500,000 watch stolen. Well, Floyd Mayweather just bought an $18 million, quote, billionaire watch. What a total self-centered look-at-me prick. That is a douche move. $18 million watch?
My kid's locked out. I missed this. Oh, he's going off the one that was stolen. Yeah, like can he make an argument that it's going to be worth $20 million 20 years from now or something?
I mean, obviously, that's the thing about being rich is whatever your house is worth, it doubles every 4 years, it seems to be, when the economy's going well. Your artwork triples every 5 years. Like even Jay Leno, like those cars that Jay Leno bought, those old like 68 Mustangs and the 1938 fire truck, like everything he buys like quintuples in value. It's like if you have crazy money, that's the kind of investing you need to do.
Well, it was Jay Leno's, truck that he famously drove around. That adds value. Well, maybe
lowers it.
I remember when the writer's strike was happening, Jay Leno starts to pull up and you hear this crazy horn. And I'm like on the picket line. I'm like, what's that? And all the writers in that area knew the deal already. They're like, oh, that's Jay bringing us donuts on his fire truck. I'm like, what? And I believe the car ran on steam.
Yes, I know for a fact it did.
And it had a steam whistle.
Yep.
And that's what he drove up to give the writers donuts.
That's amazing.
As he wrote 4,000 monologue jokes for himself, which he was allowed to do as a performer, and did his, Tonight Show.
Wow. Peter Cipriano said, hey, Greg and Mike, I wanted to request a shout out to my neighbor Mark Long, who recently shared your podcast with me. At first I resisted, but he would let me drink all the beer I wanted at his house while we listened to Sunday Papers.
Huh.
Now I'm a subscriber. Shout out to my neighbor Mark for being such an obedient listener. All right.
Mark, how nice.
Spread the word, folks. We're trying to get these numbers up. Scott Goldman.
Yeah.
On July 10th, 2020, it was reported that the U.S. Catholic Church may be the largest recipient of federal coronavirus aid at, ready for this?
I can't.
$3.5 billion.
I just can't.
8 months earlier, it was reported that the new wave of sexual abuse lawsuits could cost the Catholic Church more than $4 billion. Don't forget, they pay no taxes. Scott G.
I talked about that last week a little, but we talked about it probably 20 weeks ago when that was going down, and you and I role played. What is that meeting like? It's like, so you're here for a loan, and we went into how on earth, if you had a company that didn't pay taxes, that also was raping children, that you have been caught not only trying to hide, but then keeping the rapists employed and moving them. Like, I can't even talk. There's no language that gets to how absurd it is.
Well, and take 3 or 4 giant steps back from that and go, what does your organization do? Well, we perpetrate the mythology that if you suffer in this life and are meek, you will inherit the earth. You will get heaven later. It's the ultimate fucking pliance into capitalism. You just tell the individual that this life doesn't mean anything. It's the next one.
And we control people. That's the origin. We control people through shame and guilt, because very similar to the story of Santa Claus, where there's someone always watching you even when you're alone, a story that any sensible third graders like, that's total bullshit. We have sold that across the planet,
right,
to especially poor people,
right, who
to
take
give them
the
false hope.
little bit of money they have and they give us 10% of it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then, anyway.
The church does a lot of good. Thank you for that, church. They do more bad.
Sean Norton said, "What's up, Fitzdog and Mike? It's Sean from up north, just outside of Toronto. Great fucking city. 7 grams of Coke is a, quote, Cuban." Did you know that?
No, I thought it was a Canadian.
I'd never heard that before. By the way, speaking of Cubans, I just did Crazy Joey Diaz's podcast yesterday. He's in New Jersey. He's the greatest.
Is he going to move to Austin?
No, he's very happy in New Jersey. That's where he's from. He's found his way, and he might get a little studio up in northern Jersey, so he has a place to go to leave the house.
He needs that. He'll walk there every morning.
That's right.
I don't think I should say this out loud. I should say his name on the podcast. I think we're continuing to lose more of the comedy community to Austin.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's already been a big swing down there, but it's like our friend who manages the Comedy Store no longer does. Let's not say his name, and I think he's moving there. And
then you got Rogan is there.
Yep.
Tony Hinchcliffe, Tom Segura's moving there with Christina Pajitsky. I believe Sebastian moved there. Brian Redband moved there.
We have to talk to Bert about it Monday. Bert
on
Kreischer,
and on.
Because
so many
Segura's
people.
partner in podcast, and yeah.
And there's new clubs opening up there all the time. There's like 3 new clubs being developed and are going to open. I guess they're already open because it's Texas.
Well, I remember, and you were probably even on one of these shows, but I remember Rogan talking about the dream. Like, why wouldn't I go down there and open up a club, and we all do time there, and we get it well managed, and we run it fair, funny wins the day, and I remember them fantasizing about that.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you're doing a podcast, if your main 2 things in your life are podcasting and going on the road, why not live somewhere if you're not attached to LA? I happen to be attached to Venice Beach where I live. But if you're not attached to it, why not go somewhere where you're going to pay 10% less in taxes, which if you're making many millions of dollars really adds up. You're flying, you're flying from the middle of the country, so everything's closer. And, whatever other upsides you find in Texas.
Well, Austin
I get
has a lot of upsides, clearly.
It's a great city. Great city, but you're also in Texas, which has
if
some
I did
downsides.
stand up there, I probably wouldn't do my John Wayne as a big fairy bit.
That's right. Although I think you can shit on the royal family in Texas.
That makes sense.
All right, enough mail. Let's get to, we want to hit the obituaries before we do the comics.
And that's all, folks.
Okay.
This guy, sad to see this guy die. He wasn't that old. I don't have his age here, but I think he was about 64. Marvin Hagler, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, who, by the way, legally changed his name to Marvelous Marvin Hagler.
That's so great.
But he was not a flashy guy at a time when, you know, Muhammad Ali, he was in the wake of Muhammad Ali. I don't think he ever fought him, did he?
Who?
Well, he was a
No,
middleweight.
He's middleweight.
Yeah. He had a 55-1 record as an amateur, and he went pro, and he took the world championship from Alan Minter in 1980. Defended his title 12 times against Roberto Duran, Thomas Hearns, John Mugabe. It was Sugar Ray Leonard who ended Hagler's long run as middleweight champion. But he retired not too long after. I remember the fight.
Who
that he
can
had
forget
against,
it if they saw it?
Oh my God, the Tommy Hearns Hagler fight was insane. People say the first round of that fight is the greatest round in boxing history, and you can go look at it on YouTube. I remember watching that fight. It was the year after I graduated high school, and me and my dad watched it. It was when, I don't know if you remember this, HBO was not huge in the 80s, and boxing was one of the things that put it on the map, and Marvin Hagler was the king of boxing at that point. He brought HBO onto the map as a channel.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching the fight, and it was, you know, Hearns comes out, and he's smiling at him. He's doing some swagger. And, you know, the thing about Hagler was he was a journeyman. He was a guy who just fought everybody anytime. And so this first round, Hagler gets cut on his forehead, and he's got blood all over his face.
Also forehead.
And in the third round, the ref stops the fight, pulls Hagler into the corner, looks at him, almost calls the fight. And Hagler's like, all right, I got to fucking end this. And this fight, it was not a boxing match. It was a fucking alley brawl. They just exchanged blows. And he just went in, and he knew it was going to end. He knew the ref was going to call it. So he just went in and just within 45 seconds beats the shit out of Hearns and knocks him out.
Remember the game Rock'em Sock'em, whatever? Yeah. So it's two kids manning the controls, the two boxers getting near each other, and it's a flurry of punches.
Right.
That's what. So can I read this little excerpt I pulled up about it?
Yeah.
The highly anticipated fight between pound-for-pound monarch and longtime middleweight champion Marvelous Marvin Hagler and the hitman Thomas Hearns exceeded even most optimistic hype, as the duo produced perhaps the greatest first round in boxing history in terms of two-way action. 56 of 83 for Hagler. All of his punches were power shots, and 50 of 82 for Hearns. They combined to land a record that still stands, 95 power shots in round one.
Jesus Christ.
Hearns, okay, so in the third round, eventually, as you pointed out, there was the only knockdown, and was Hagler knocked Hearns down, and he somehow regained his feet, but the referee, Richard Steele, deemed him unfit to continue. Interesting side note, Hearns broke his right hand in round one.
No shit.
Hagler outlanded Hearns 96-94 overall, but 90-67 in power punches. Anyway, and then the last line here down below, it was the most magnificent two-way battle that will forever stand the test of time, as well as the sheer ring brutality. Just go watch it. It's 3 rounds, and it was one of those where it's like, you're getting ready for it. It was so hyped. You got your fucking chips, this. It's like, hey, it like started. And it went from like it started, your guy's still in the kitchen getting his beer, to like the whole, wherever you were like, holy shit.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. And Hagler's style was he just came right at you. The entire fight, was Tommy Hearns, who had a much bigger reach than Hagler. So Hagler just came at him. He just tried to get him against the ropes, because once he would get him against the ropes, that's when he would land his shots. And the thing about Hagler was, I don't know if you know this, he changed handedness mid-fight. He would go righty in the first round, lefty in the second round, and you never knew which side he was coming from.
Like the Italian Stallion?
Did the Italian Stallion do that?
Well, he tried his best to fight righty, I think, right? But he was a southpaw, so he's like,
Yeah.
"Fuck it, I'm going back to lefty."
Oh.
It was something like that. I
Yeah.
didn't write it. Sly
So
wrote it.
rest in peace, Marvin Hagler. God bless you. Thanks for all the
here's
great.
Here's a short little Hagler story. Dan Brickner from Philly, where they have, of course, the picture of the great fighter Sylvester Stallone up on the top of the steps. So, Philly, always on the right side of every issue. So, we're in my aforementioned Subaru wagon, and we're driving down to the ferry to Martha's Vineyard, and going to go see Jack. We know that how expensive beer is on the vineyard, so we buy a keg in Boston, and we tap the keg in my Subaru wagon, and it's in the back. And as we're getting close, open container maybe was illegal at that time. Of course, drunk driving was. I was not drunk driving, but also we. All of a sudden, Dan found a roach in my car also. So he's trying to light this roach. We're on Route 1, heading down to the ferry, and he tries to pass it to me. It falls on my part of the dashboard, which is the speedometer, the odometer and all that part, and it rolls. This lit joint thing rolls and falls behind. It rolls up to the glass of my speedometer and falls behind.
Oh, shit.
We're trying to get it out. And then the smoke like continues, and we're like, "Fuck!" And I'm like in the middle lane of Route 1. I'm like, we're like, "Fuck! Get! Is that gonna burn up all the wires? Should I pull over?" And he's like, "Maybe you should pull over." And all this craziness, and he looks over to see if I can pull over, and he's like, "Holy shit! It's fucking marvelous!" And I'm like, "What's marvelous? What are you talking about?" And we look over, and there's Hagler in his black Mercedes right next to us, and he had been watching us freak out, trying to pry our dashboard away to get this burning thing, and he just gives us a wave and presses the gas and takes off.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
He was
Brickner will
funny.
remember it.
He was fucking. I remember seeing him on Letterman once, and he was funny. He had Letterman. Letterman loved him.
By the way, if you saw that guy like in a bar, it's true of any professional boxer of a lighter weight. You'd be like, I don't know. I could probably grab this guy even if he can throw it. But like, meanwhile,
right.
he would dice you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so crazy. But yeah, what a legend.
All right, let's get to the funnies. Nathan Wheat, by the way, says, does it not upset Mike that Bill and Jeff Keene's characters are named Billy? He left out an L, and Jeffy. Any reaction to that, Mike?
Well, one, I didn't know the kids were named that, but it does infuriate me now that I know it.
You don't know they're named that, even though I tell you every single week?
I just find that as an interruption and throw off my whole rhythm because I'm trying to like this cartoon. Excuse me. And so you throw me off. It's part of my anger at them is your constant interruptions.
Let's go to my favorite cartoon, and this one is a gem. The Lockhorns. Leroy is standing at the front door. He's got on a pair of white socks with black slippers, some ugly cargo shorts, and a lime green sweater. And Loretta says, the invitation said casual, Leroy, not casualty.
I don't know.
Come on.
Lower level wordplay, if you ask me.
I think their wordplay is top notch.
No, sometimes it is.
The next one is they're standing outside the racetrack, and there's another couple. And Loretta says, Leroy's horse came in first in the 6th race. Unfortunately, he was running in the 5th.
Clever.
That's not bad.
That's pretty clever.
Okay.
You don't want to save some of these? You're going to burn all of these?
All right, let's go to the next one. All right. It is our favorite wife abuser.
Marauder.
Andy
Rapist.
Cap. He's walking
Sorry,
with.
not. Oh, I jumped ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, maybe I jumped ahead. Did I miss one?
There's a.
Oh, I did. There's a Hagler. All right, so Hagler is throwing a body of a live man over a wall to his death. And as he does, he says, "Oof, a day of Viking work is backbreaking." And his friend says, "Oh, how many backs have you broken today?" And Hagler sighs as he throws a man to his death. Now, it's fun as a 7-year-old to rush to get the cartoons, thinking you're going to see Dennis the Menace or maybe some Family Circus. And instead, it's rapists throwing live bodies over a wall. Let's go to...
Redraw this one with rape.
He sighs.
Yeah.
He sighs at the end of the
How many
rape.
backs have you broken today? Sigh.
Andy Capp, who doesn't rape his wife, but boy, is he not a great husband. They're walking along, and he says, "Never mind about us waiting till we get home. Let's have it out right here and now." So she turns and says, "Hold me shopping for a sec." And he holds her bags, and then she fucking punches him in the face. And then in the last frame, he's on the ground with what looks like a bruise and a broken nose. He says, "They have no trouble acting like men when it comes to acting like gentlemen." Oh, they have no trouble acting like men, but when it comes to acting like gentlemen.
There it is. Now
Yeah.
it tracks.
All right.
I like it. Listen, it's still, you say the phrase spousal abuse, and you always think the woman's on the receiving end.
It's true. That's what I like about their relationship. They keep it even. You got a Family Circus here, right?
Yeah, here's a real piece of shit. This kid, and I honestly don't even know which one that is, even though you just told me 2 names, but I don't know. This little fat kid's running in, crying, and his hands are outstretched as he's running through the door. Tears are just sort of exploding out of his fat face. And the pearl of comedy written underneath it is, "Mommy, I hurt myself," all caps, "this much." I mean, I know I'm like this every week. This isn't an act. Like, what the fuck is that, honestly?
Yeah. I want to find Jeff Keane and stretch my arms out and go, "Your cartoons hurt me this much."
That's a good, see, if I put a little work into it, I would have come up with that. It's so, it's enraging and disappointing. And
Yeah.
holy.
I want there to be another comic strip of Family Circus, but now these kids are all adults. And they're just cucks and they're alcoholics. They are soulless, spineless kids that have not been, they've been coddled by parents that accept their humor as funny. So they're the bore at the party that goes on with bad stories.
When is this going to get canceled for sucking? How about cancel culture goes after things that suck?
Yeah, I know.
Like, no, this should be canceled. You know who should not be canceled? Dr. Seuss, who apparently lived near this guy down in San Diego area, or I think that's where these Keens lived. I'm shocked the Keens use their real names. Who could put their real name on this piece of shit?
Yeah. I know.
You'd hide that. That's kind of like one of those, Tom Petty dies and there's like all these, like a lot of unreleased tracks. He's probably rolling in his grave if someone releases, a lot of people, they release all of them. It's like, don't release that.
Yeah.
That was such a piece of garbage. I hid it from people.
Yeah, right.
That's what this is.
Well, this will cheer you up. Blondie.
Okay.
This one's fun because it's kind of a fashion show. Dagwood's sitting at the top of the stairs. He's got on a suit for a change with a bow tie. Looks like a fucking asshole. What's taking you so long to get ready, sweetheart? Right out of the gate, you're like, "Hey, Dagwood, why don't you shut the fuck up?" She's hot and she's trying to look better. And she says, "Decisions, but I've worked my way down to the final 4. He says, "Honey, we're going to be late for the party." Yeah. You don't want to make an entrance with the hottest fucking blonde in town, do you? "I'm sorry, dear. You want me to look nice, don't you? Which dress do you like, the red one or the green one?" He says, "The red one." And then she says, "What about the shoes, red or green?" He says, "Red." She says, "Purse, red or green?" He says, "Red." Which looks better, the pearls or the chain? Chain. And then the last frame, they're at the party, and the guy goes, "We were late too. Was it the dress or the shoes or the purse or the chain?" He says, "All of the above." How about all of these above? You deserve nothing. She is wearing this red dress, fucking slimming her waist. I don't know how she does it. Whatever, she should put out a fucking workout video because the bosoms are swollen, and yet it cuts in at the waist, cuts back out at the hips, in at the knees, back out at the calves. She's a fucking wet dream. And this slug has the balls to sit at the top of the stairs and give her shit about making herself even hotter. Fuck you, Dagwood.
Here's the only nice point. Is she getting chatted up by a guy? She's hidden in that last frame. She's hidden behind a little dialogue bubble.
I see that. Her shoes are pointed at a set of men's shoes, and they're inches apart.
You would think she's talking to that fat guy's wife, but no.
Oh no, I think it's another guy.
It is.
I think it's a guy.
Okay, another question in the bottom right corner, same frame. Is that a mixed race couple?
It's a mixed race couple.
Wow.
Yep.
Pretty progressive party for Dagwood.
Yeah, I think of Dagwood as a racist. Just because he's such a simpleton. I don't think he could think outside of yeah.
The guy's like, "We were late too. Was it the dress or the shoes or the purses or the chain?" He's like, "I can't hear you right now. Do you see who this white woman's with next to us?"
By the way, what do you think of this royal family bullshit? Somebody made a good point about the royal family, which is, here's England. That's all about fucking Brexit. Get all the foreigners out of our fucking country. And then we send them one of our hot citizens. So here's an immigrant that comes into the palace. What's her name? Katie?
Who? Megan?
Megan. We send them Megan, who's a foreigner, and they get mad when she leaves. I thought you wanted all the immigrants out. Is that a stretch?
A Megxit, yeah. No, I like it.
There you go. All right, that joke will bring us to the end of Sunday Papers.
Holy hell, it's late.
2 hours and 7 minutes.
Huh.
Minus the edits.
Felt like,
which I'm
like
joking.
203.
I don't think we've ever done an edit on Sunday Papers in a year.
No.
April 1st, by the way, is our 1 year anniversary. We put out our first episode April 1st, 2020. So let's look at the calendar.
It sounds like we planned it. A sometimes comedy podcast premiering on April Fools.
I know. So April 1st, why is my calendar not working? April 1st is going to be on next week. So this coming week will be April. God, is it already April 3rd? No, I'm sorry. March 27th and then April. So 2 weeks until our 1 year episode. And we're going to have something that's going to knock your fucking socks off, people. We're going big. It's been a year. It's been an exciting year filled with support, filled with so much content that you guys have sent us that we appreciate. And we want to throw back that love. And we've been producing a lot of stuff. And you're going to see. It's going to be unbelievable.
I might have to figure out a little... to go to Florida next week, I'm a little mic that goes into this H6, so I don't have to travel with this big mic. We'll talk to our tech people.
The mic is not big. You slide it into the corner of your suitcase.
You gave me a cord. I'm going to call it your crowd work cord. The cord itself weighs about 11 pounds. This is the one that what's his name in the Who uses to throw the mic around.
Robert Plant?
No. No. Why are we spacing on his name? Townsend Daltrey. Roger Daltrey.
Roger Daltrey.
So, no, I don't want to take this mic cord and mic down there. Maybe there's a little pretty good mic that I could find to hook up to this thing.
Yeah. Well, when you got your new H6, it came with one of those. It's called a omnidirectional microphone. Pops right into the top.
Oh, so... Yeah, so I'll just talk into that.
Yeah.
Perfect, man.
But test it out first to make sure it doesn't sound like shit, will you?
From what I hear, this already sounds like shit, so I'll just try to match it.
This has been Sunday Papers. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you again next week. Enjoy the news.
Thank you so much, yeah.
And Mike, good hanging out. We want to thank all the people at Midcoast Media, Chris Denman, Beth Hoops, who do a fantastic job putting the show together for us every week. And we'll see you next time.
Hey, I have an interesting question before we end. Why don't we have this conversation on air? What do we think the promo should be this week?
Oh, the video that we put out?
A little inside baseball. I'm left to cut a little funny clip that we try to keep under a minute, and we go through the show. Chris has some suggestions if he's been listening through all his sort of vitriol that he's putting out in the world. And what do we think it is?
I don't know. We had 2 Florida Mans. Florida Mans are usually pretty good. Do one of those. One was about the guy cutting off his grandfather's ears.
Mm-hmm.
We also had Britney Spears on Oprah. We could do the blackface bits.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good week to put out something racist. Let's do that.
Oh, what about the Royal Parade? There was some funny jokes in that.
Was there? Okay, I'll look at that.
Oh, the chimps at the zoo? That was really funny. I think that's the one.
Maybe the chimps at the zoo.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll put out the chimps, although one of the jokes was Woody and Mia. We don't want people to think we're just doing that. Hey, there was a very good letter from a listener. It was the most compelling argument yet. That Woody did it to Farrow, which was her body memory.
Yeah, that was kind of touching.
That was a very well-written letter.
No pun intended.
Yeah, even if the memory had been implanted, it probably wouldn't have been a body memory as intense as that.
Yeah. No, that's why we laid off this week, is we got a lot of mail from you guys, people that were reacting to our defense of Woody Allen. And the truth is, who are we to get involved in this? This is between them, and I think that by taking his side, we are.
Whoa! That's the other thing. It was a blurry line between when you take Woody's defense, you're just saying we haven't heard this was such a one-sided documentary. We haven't heard his story. What people blurred were, oh, you're saying he's innocent, which I've never said.
No, that's true. And I made that distinction to all the letters that came in, as we are only saying that this documentary is one-sided and doesn't prove anything.
But I understand why people blur it, and I understand why it's disturbing.
Yes, and it's probably not a topic we want to stay on. It's over. We're moving past it.
But you know what? The chimps think Woody did not do it, so I think that promo's fair.
Go with the chimps. Always default to the chimps.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you next week, Mike.
Take it, Ish.
Take it, Ish.
Sunday paper with Greg and Mike. Sunday papers, yeah, it's what I like. Say, why don't you come on over here, Blondie? After I throw a move on, no, why?